Welcome to Copilots, the podcast where we watch not just the first episode of a show,
but also the second. Some shows don't have the best pilot episode, and giving it the second chance might just change your mind.
Here we take that chance for you and let you know our opinion on a show that deserves more than one shot.
I'm Justice. Alongside me is my co-pilot Josh. Now, let's get ready for takeoff. Your in-flight entertainment this time will be Stargate SG-1. Hey passengers, one of your pilots here. Just wanted to give you a bit of a pre-flight warning about a bit of turbulence in this episode, by which I mean something messed up with the recording on this episode, and it got pretty staticky and bad for a few minutes of the recording in the back half, and we didn't really catch it until quite a ways into the editing process. But we managed to clean it up a lot from what it was, but it is still kind of rough. Just thought we'd give you a heads up there, and hopefully you still stick around and enjoy it.
You know, I know we say in the intro, the very top of the episode.
Yeah.
Sometimes the first episode, second episode, But sometimes the first episode and the second episode are now the same episode because even though they aired initially separately, every version of that show available now on DVD, Blu-ray, streaming, everywhere except like Daily Motion.
Yeah.
It's now just one episode that's been cut together and has scenes removed, and it actually like flows as a singular hour and a half long movie.
Ish scene removed.
And also, if I'm remembering correctly from my brief glance at the Wikipedia, these two episodes, not the whole season, had a budget of $70 million.
What the fuck?
They wouldn't have this much money for an episode again until the season 8 finale, which is also the launch of Stargate Atlantis.
God damn. Okay. Fucking crazy, but alright.
Basically what I'm saying is Stargate SG-1 episode 1 and 2, Children of the Gods, part 1 and 2, is essentially a movie.
Yeah.
It's a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah.
But it's a made-for-TV movie on a $70 million budget in 1997.
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half long.
Which means adjusted for inflation, it's at least $110 million today money.
Yeah, fuck it up.
It's a lot of money they spent making an hour and a half long TV show.
Mm-hmm. And the title of the episodes are Children of the Gods, Part 1 and Part 2. As you said, we just didn't call it out there, so I thought I'd make sure everyone was aware. Children of the Gods.
So, should we lay the groundwork of Stargate, the movie, first? Because it does matter a little bit.
So,
this is a sequel to the movie.
Yeah, technically we generally try to be like, hey, you don't need any background. The first two episodes of the show are supposed to kind of do that for you. And Stargate, the show, should just reasonably do that for you. That's what it's supposed to do. But I would argue these first two episodes aren't nearly as good unless you've watched Stargate.
I will...
Because it just drops you right there without explaining shit that actually does need explained.
Spoiler, non-spoiler. I was really excited to watch through Stargate. One of my friends in high school was a huge Stargate fan.
Yeah.
And I never really got into it. I saw most of the first movie one time.
So I've seen the first Stargate movie before. Mm-hmm. And so is there more than one Stargate movie?
I have no idea.
I don't think there is. I think there's just Stargate and then the Stargate series that exists.
I mean, there's Stargate and then there's Stargate SG-1 Children of the Gods, which is its own movie.
Fair. Yeah, no, I never got into Stargate. I was aware of it, but at the time that I was aware of it was Stargate Atlantis. Mm-hmm. But also everyone was like Eureka. My brain went, Eureka looks more interesting. I'm gonna watch that instead.
I have some very important information for you.
Yeah?
Eureka, much better show.
Yeah. At least based off of a comparison of what I've seen of Eureka, which is multiple seasons, to the 2 episodes of Stargate that I've seen.
Like I was about to say, spoiler or non-spoiler, these 2 episodes of Stargate SG-1 killed any, intention I had of watching Stargate. I was like, man, I was so excited for watching Stargate, and then I watched these 2 episodes, and I was like, man, I couldn't give a shit less about Stargate.
I might still watch it.
That's fine. Yeah. You do you. For my live-action TV show binge, because I sometimes need that in, place of, I think I'm gonna go try to find TNT original series Las Vegas.
Okay, fair enough.
Because I watched a lot of that show as a...
I know you did.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Anyways, though, we should probably get into this episode of Stargate. But I think you're right. Let's explain a bit about Stargate. Scientist gets called in by the military because he's very good with languages, especially Egyptian languages.
No, I think I'm just thinking of Atlantis.
Oh, fuck. But his name is
Daniel.
Daniel Jackson.
Yeah, DJ. Daniel
played
Jackson.
by James Spader in the movie, not in the TV show. They could not afford James Spader. So James Spader gets called by the military to help them decode the symbols on the outside of this ring. He does it. So they manage to get the device working, and it's a portal to a different world, which is just ancient Egypt, and it's called Abydos.
Yeah, except nobody there can write because it's ruled over by the Egyptian sun god Ra.
Who's upset because the humans on Earth rebelled because apparently writing helped them come together and plan.
Yeah, it should be mentioned that he's not actually the Egyptian sun god Ra.
He's an alien who's the last of his kind, who possessed a human because he has technology that can repel the biological systems of humans easier than it is himself.
Heavy quotations on last of his kind.
No, it seems he's very much the last of the kind given the alien depiction that we see of him, and then the alien depiction that we see for the aliens. We'll get into this. They
Yeah, I'm not saying
seem like they're the same as him, but
I'm not saying that they're the same as him. I'm just saying that, like,
I'm saying as far as we know from these from the movie and these 2 episodes, he is the last of his kind. I don't know about the rest of Stargate.
yeah, so Daniel on this planet learns all the history of how Ra supplemented Earth and this world and maybe other worlds and enslaved this world to mine the quartz-like material that makes stargates and spaceships.
For no reason at all, really, that we're aware of. And meanwhile, Jack's entire job here was to figure out if everything was a threat to Earth, and if so, blow up the Stargate with a nuke.
More importantly, Ra here is his own undoing because Jack came through with a nuclear weapon, which he was to use in case they found threats to Earth.
Yep.
He could blow the weapon up and the Stargate so nobody could come through. Ra automatically assumed they were there to kill him.
Yeah.
And so by taking their stuff and then like trying to kill them, made them his enemy.
Yeah.
And so they did kill him with a nuke to his face while he was in orbit.
And then the movie ends with it being unclear if Jack and Daniel come back. Daniel, much less likely so, given the fact that he has a wife that he was gifted by the elder of all of these slaves in the village.
He accidentally married a woman and then, in order to not offend her, stayed with her.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Jack has basically adopted a street urchin.
Yeah, and the street urchin is the only character that reoccurs between the movie and the TV show in these first 2 episodes.
So at the end of the movie, it's unclear if those two come back through. Who knows? And then we pick up on Stargate SG-1, Episode 1.
Which is entitled Children of the Gods, Part 1.
And we start the episode with some military personnel just playing cards at a table in the same room as the Stargate, which is now covered with a tarp.
They're playing some variation of Texas Hold'em. I was trying to figure out what it was, but it looks like they all have 2 cards dealt face down, and then they're all being dealt their own personal flop, river, and turn. I might have those out of order.
Swap, turn, river, I think.
But they're all being dealt their own personal 5 cards face up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what this game is. I don't know, but they're talking about the giant thing in the room and
about how this job is super fucking boring because no one uses the Stargate anymore.
And like they don't even know what the Stargate's for, what it does.
Yeah, their job is just to sit in this room and protect it.
One of the soldiers is like, I know what it does. It wastes a bunch of US money. That's what it does.
And another mentions about how people are being transferred out of this posting. Like not this specific job necessarily, but this general posting for this base.
Yeah, the giant underground bunker that is.
They're being sent out to different places pretty quickly. So whatever this operation is seems to be shutting down. With this operation, of course, being the Stargate stuff.
And then the Stargate starts to activate.
So the one woman in the group gets up to go check it, and then an orb rolls out, and she dumbly picks it up.
It looks kind of like a skull, like not like an actual skull, but like shaped like a skull.
I was gonna say it looks like the floating editor eye robot from the Halo series for map creators.
Oh, you mean Forge?
Yeah, and Forge.
Fair enough. The other soldiers yell at her, hey, don't pick that up, you don't know what that is.
And they pick up guns, and then out step some people in armor heavily similar to the people from the first Stargate movie, which...
Except, despite the massive budget for what is a TV movie, they look like Power Ranger villains.
Yes. So in the movie, Raw had people wearing armor and fairly Egyptian-style clothes, but the armor was meant to reflect mainly Horus.
And Anubis.
Yeah.
And these are snake people, representing the Egyptian god Aphrodis? Aphis?
Apophis, I believe.
Apophis.
Yeah,
there
I think
go.
it's Apophis.
That's
or
right.
Apophis?
Apophis.
Apophis sounds right. And they come through. There are multiple guys in silver versions or like an iron. And they also all have chainmail, which is very different because before there was no armor other than the plates of metal.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of skin exposure in the movie. But these ones have chainmail. And in the very back is someone wearing the exact same outfit but in gold.
Yeah. And the first thing anybody does when they come through the portal is grab the woman.
Yes.
She has a name.
After it scans her.
But they say it once, and I didn't catch it.
Neither did I.
So...
And then the soldiers start to shoot, and then Apophis and his people shoot, because Apophis is the guy in the snake armor. We learn it later. It's not hard.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go and say it. So they shoot back with these spears that shoot lasers, because it's a sci-fi movie from the 90s.
They're more like staves.
Staves, yeah, kind of. But they look at the tips half spearheads almost, but they shoot lasers instead. And
because Power Rangers. Except unlike Power Rangers, when a human gets hit by one of these blasts, they're all bloody and dead. One of the U.S. soldiers calls for backup.
And they manage to kill one of the Apophis soldiers.
Two Apophis soldiers die.
Before Apophis and his men retreat with the woman, and the military people are left stunned, including the reinforcements that showed up during this.
Yeah, and when the reinforcements show up...
They show up with the general in charge of this base, General Hammond.
And they're getting ready to open fire on the...
Apophis soldiers.
The 2 Apophis soldiers and Apophis that are remaining. And the general's like, no, don't. They have one of ours, which is the least military thing ever.
Yes.
Like, this is an enemy insurgent deep into your base. You're not going to, like, go, oh no, they have one of our people. You're going to go make them dead.
So they leave with her, but before they do, we see the guy in golden armor. His eyes glow, which is important because Ra's eyes glowed in the movie. So then we cut to the title card, which
is the exact same opening sequence from the Stargate movie.
Yes. And then we cut to a house where some military personnel are pulling up. They're on a door. No one answers. Then they realize, oh, there's a ladder to the side. So they go around the house, up the ladder. And sitting on a rooftop terrace on top of his house is Jack O'Neill staring at the sky. No longer played by Kurt Russell.
I was going to say, this is definitely Kurt Russell on the TV show.
That's not.
I know Kurt Russell. This is Kurt Russell.
So he's asked to come with them back to the Stargate base by General Hammond. He doesn't recognize the name. It's because, of course, no one returns to this movie except for Scar as actor. So instead of recasting for the general, they say General West has been replaced by General Hammond.
Yeah, West retired. It's okay. They don't say he retired, but that's the implication.
Yeah. And O'Neill at first is like, I'm retired. Then he's told us about Stargate. He's like, he doesn't say anything. We just cut to him showing up.
Yeah. They get to the base. There's a bit of banter as he signs in where the major
is like,
we got to go further down in another elevator. And he goes, yeah, I know.
I've been here. And the guy looks kind of awkward and then pushes an elevator button. And then they get all the way down and O'Neill walks into Hammond's office.
And Heyman and the Major essentially grill O'Neill about his time
on Abydos.
And the story that they're feeding, I say they, but O'Neill and his 2 other soldiers that made it back with him are feeding the military is that
it's entirely correct.
They arrived on Abydos before they could complete the mission to destroy the Stargate and any hostiles.
Ra took their weapon.
And then with the help of
Daniel and the people of Abydos.
Daniel Jackson and the people of Abydos, they managed to reseize their weapons and detonate the nuclear warhead.
And kill Ra.
Kill Ra and escape back to Earth.
And that the Abydos Stargate was sealed. Nothing in his report is a lie. It is all just taken in the broadest terms without specific detail.
So it's not a lie in the same way that if I tell you, like, if you expected me to go to, like, Walmart.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, no, I went to the grocery store today and I did the grocery shopping. But I didn't go to Walmart. I went to, like, Aldi's.
Yeah.
And I just never said Aldi's. You would assume that I went to Walmart.
Yeah, you got all the stuff you needed to do.
Yeah, because what I'm telling you aligns with what you expect me to do.
Exactly.
The details I'm leaving out and your expectations fill those details in. So that's what he's doing. He's using the expectations the military had to fill in the details that he's intentionally leaving out.
Yes. And so then at the very end of this, the general says, so to the best of your knowledge, Daniel Jackson and the people of Abydos are dead.
And he's like, yeah.
Yeah, because, again, he doesn't know what's happened in the year since he's been gone.
And so...
The general's basically like, okay, good. So this won't cause a problem for my plan.
You won't mind if I carry through with my plan then. And they all stand up and they walk out. And sometime during this conversation, the general was like, you know, Jack, you should write a book about...
It was actually at the very beginning.
Yeah, you should write a book about your exploits and Abydos and stuff. And Jack's like, I can't write that book. If I did, like...
I'd have to kill anyone that read it.
It'd be breaking classified orders. And also, like, this is the real reason why he can't write it. If he writes a book about him going to an alien planet that is ancient Egypt, where he and a group of elite military fought the Egyptian sun god Ra,
and killed him.
And the Egyptian gods Anubis and Horus, and killed them with a nuclear weapon, and then escaped back to Earth, all through the means of a giant metal circle in the basement of an Air Force base, nobody would believe him in the military. He'd be like, that man's crazy. He's not in the military anymore because he's crazy. Here's his discharge papers. Like, that's what would happen. He'd be labeled a kook, and, like, the only people that would believe would be, like, conspiracy theorists on the internet, and it would be an entire thing.
I mean, fair, but I think, I'd believe him just like I believe Lucian Samosata.
I don't know who that is.
The guy who wrote the story, like the Greek Odyssey story about the people who ended up going to the moon.
Okay.
And fighting in a war on the moon. Yeah, it was written by the
first science science fiction story.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I believe him. That totally happened. Did it not?
Probably not. Most likely not.
I think you're wrong.
Because if that happened, there was an alien boy who was raised by a human martial artist that took a rabbit human to the moon and made him mine mochi until he had enough mochi for all the kids of the world.
Also true.
That's my favorite bit of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Like, in the entirety of Dragon Ball, Goku taking Monster Carrot to the moon to mine mochi until he has enough mochi for all of the children in the world. Because in Japanese mythology, the moon isn't made of cheese.
It's made of mochi, which honestly sounds so much better.
It's amazing.
But anyways, they get down to the containment area for the Stargate, and we see they are putting a nuke on a robot to send through the Stargate.
Oh, the nuke's already on the robot? They're just arming it.
Yeah. And O'Neill's just like, what the fuck? What are you doing?
Also, for some reason, the time on the armament is 40 hours and 20 minutes.
I assumed it was 40 minutes and 30 seconds because the timer in the movie operated in minutes and seconds.
Oh, okay. 40 minutes and 20 seconds is what it shows on the timer. It shows us the robot.
So he's like, what the fuck? Why are you sending a bomb? He's like, well, for some fucking reason, apparently these guys survived a Mark II nuclear device.
Mark III.
That was Mark II. Now they're sending the Mark V.
Yeah, it was a Mark III and they're sending a Mark V, which is roughly 9 times more powerful than a Mark III because nuclear weapons are exponentially powerful than the Marks. So Mark V is squared.
Yeah. Still 91 times less powerful than the nuclear explosion that killed Ra, though. Because in the movie, Ra plans on sending the nuclear device back to Earth to blow it up, but he's going to make it stronger with the crystal stuff they used to make the Stargates. And his entire ship was made of it also. So
apparently the crystals have a very energetic, an unstable energetic quality that would interact with atomic explosions, which implies that they could be used for atomic fuel for spacecraft.
I assume it's what actually provides the energy to keep the Stargates open so long. What helped fuel the wormhole.
Yeah.
But, so this bomb still would do fucking nothing to these gods if somehow Ra survived the 100 times more powerful.
Yeah.
But, so when he goes through that, Hammond's like, unless that would be a problem. So O'Neill's just like, technically, my story wasn't entirely factual.
Yeah, he's like, my report wasn't entirely accurate.
Yeah.
Which... honestly, his report was entirely accurate. It was just...
It could have been more accurate. Yeah, which is why entirely accurate is a good line there. And then he explains, Daniel Jackson stayed on the planet with his alien wife, technically human alien wife.
And the major, not the general, was like, so you didn't even blow up the nuclear device?
And he's like, no, I blew up the device.
I didn't lie about that.
It just blew up in the atmosphere on Ra's ship.
It definitely killed Ra, like that.
And then when I came back through, Jackson buried the Stargate in rubble. That's why when we sent a robot through, it got crushed.
So they send a tissue box through with tissues because...
Well, so we know that 2 of his men from the movie, are there because he sees them getting interviewed in the background when they talk to him about shit, when they're leading him down to look at the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they seem to put him in a holding cell along with Kowalski, one of his men.
That's after they send the tissues through.
No, that's before, because he's talking to Kowalski and they start trying to get into about how Scarlet
right.
reminds him of his son, and then General Hammond opens the door and he's like...
You're right, because Kowalski's like, I didn't even know you had a son.
Yeah, and then then Hammond opens the door to their cell and he's like, how many people are there on Abydos?
And O'Neill's like, roughly 5,000 from what we saw. But also, Kowalski in that scene's like, I didn't even know you had a son. And O'Neill goes, because he died right before we went to Abydos.
Which we knew in the movie.
Yeah, we knew that in the movie because
his son got a hold of one of his guns because he was a bad gun owner.
And right before Kurt Russell goes to Abydos, right before he's called in for the Stargate mission in the movie, he's contemplating killing himself with the same gun.
Yep. So then O'Neill's just like, okay, I got an idea. Let me try it, and we'll figure out if Jackson's on the other side or not. And he takes a tissue box, writes something on it, and then goes down to the Stargate and throws it.
He doesn't write anything on it. He just takes a tissue box with tissues and throws it in the gate.
Yeah, and the major's like, what are you doing? And he's like, Jackson has allergies. And then when they come back up and they're waiting for it, the major is again like, what are you even doing? They could be planning an attack. And he's like, I don't know. I guess they're blowing their noses.
Yeah, because the major's question isn't like, what are you doing? It's like, what do you think? Like, why are you giving them that?
Yeah.
Imagine
they could plan an attack. And she's like, with tissues? Bro. So then the box comes back through, but with no tissues in it. And it just says on the side, please send more -Jackson.
Yeah, it says thanks. Please. Yeah. And he's like, see, Jackson's alive. Now send me through. Send me and my guys through.
Yeah, let me take my own group of people through and let's meet up with Jackson and see what's going on.
Oh, we should mention that this all hinges on the fact that they believe that obviously Hammond believes that
Ra is back, yeah.
That not only is Ra potentially back, but even if he's not, these aliens obviously had to come from Abydos.
Yes, from Abydos.
Yeah, which not necessarily the case. Like, I know that in the movie at this point, they have no, Stargates other than the one between Earth and Abydos, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But if I found an ancient stellar portal
with 39 discrete symbols all on the outside of it that all move.
I would assume...
The other 32 symbols do something.
Yeah, that, like, it's not just a singular back and forth.
Yeah. So the general agrees to his plan, and they have a briefing in the morning, but they are waiting on their last member, Sam Carter. Captain Sam Carter.
Not Daniel Jackson. Jack O'Neill assumes is a man. It's not. Her name is Dr. Captain Samantha Carter.
Actually, I believe by order of military rank, she's Captain Dr. Samantha Carter.
Captain Dr. Samantha Carter. Mm-hmm. And him and Kowalski are both sexist pigs. They're like, Herber, she's a woman.
At no point do they complain that she's a woman.
Yeah, they do.
No.
Kowalski specifically goes, oh yeah, and you go by Sam. Like, his implication is that she goes by Sam, so people think she's a man.
No, Kowalski does, but I'm gonna get there. Like, for the first part of the conversation, when she's assuming he's being sexist, he hasn't really done anything, I would say, to prove that he's sexist. He gets there, though.
Okay, fine.
At first, he's just like, I don't want to bring someone I don't know, and he assumes Sam Carter is a man. Mm-hmm. Not a great assumption, but fine, whatever. People make assumptions. It's not a horrible one in that circumstance.
I think if I added up all of the Sams I've ever known in my life, it ends up breaking down to a strong 50-50.
For me, it ends up being a bit more in favor of the men, but not much.
Yeah, it's...
So, but this is also late 90s, military, top secret things. Like, he has a reason for assuming it's a man just because of the horrible structure of our country and our military at the time. But she walks in very defensive of the fact that he said he. And she's like, I'm a woman. And he's like, it's not a problem to me that you're a woman. I don't like scientists.
To be fair, he did also not like Daniel at the beginning of the Stargate movie.
But she's still saying that it's because he's sexist. He's like, it's not that I dislike women. I like women. And the way he says it is extremely misogynistic.
Yeah.
Like, the line delivery is creepy.
His delivery is, I like women. Just, not in any, like, professional capacity.
Yeah, the delivery is what makes him feel sexist. Kowalski comes across feeling sexist because he mentions the fact that, so you go by Sam, which, yeah, she probably does go by Sam because it is a more gender-neutral name, and she's a woman in a highly men's fucking...
And on paper, at least, it makes it less likely for her to be discriminated against when being used for selection purposes and, like, mission briefing and all that stuff. It's the same reason why people will suggest that if you have
a very not white-sounding name,
ethnic name,
I forgot the word ethnic for a moment, I'm not gonna lie.
That you just use a white name. Yeah. Call yourself John.
Which is bullshit, but it does sadly work.
For job application purposes is what I'm talking about, not like in your day-to-day life. Don't let the white pressure of society force you into like changing your actual name. Yeah. But if you could trick big corporations into hiring you by calling yourself John, fucking do it.
Yeah. So he gets upset that a scientist is coming on to his trip with him that he didn't approve of, and also he doesn't like scientists. And Hammond's just like, nope, she's our Stargate expert. She's going with you. To which...
She's been studying the Stargate for years. The last 3 years, I guess, because
it was like 5 or 3 years, one of those two numbers.
Because it was the 2 years before the Stargate movie that they were studying.
I think it's 3 years.
Then it's the 1 year in between Stargate and SG-1.
Yeah.
And also, we didn't mention it, but in the movie,
the expert is an old lady whose father found the Stargate in Egypt, and she was the expert. I have to assume she has died in that 1 year.
She owned the Stargate, so the only way the military was able to use it was with her involvement in the project.
Or she got blackbacked because she wanted to release her discovery. And you know what? I changed my mind. She didn't die. She got blackbacked.
She's just gone. And also, this brings me to a very important question I had while we were watching this. How did the Air Force in particular end up in charge of the Stargate command? Like, inner space travel definitely makes sense in my mind as, like, Air Force if you're actually traveling through space. But this feels like, I don't know.
She tried to smuggle it in on a private plane, but was caught by the U.S. Air Force.
I don't know. Like, this feels like Army or, like, Marines, maybe?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
Not necessarily the Air Force.
Or,
CIA. Although I guess there's like the innate link between aliens and Air Force.
Yeah, because 51 is an Air Force base.
Okay.
I think that's the whole thing there.
You think Stargate Command is Area 51?
No, because we see the name of its base, and it also is on a hillside in an area of green, and I think it's an actual base. I just don't remember the name of what it said.
Fair enough. You're right. I'm wrong.
So they end up going through.
Well, before they go through, Kowalski, like I said, Kowalski in particular is a sexist pig.
Yes.
He's like, him and Dr. Carter, Captain Carter, have a bit of back and forth.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't worry, I played with dolls. And he's like, oh yeah, G.I. Joes. And she mentions an astronaut toy she played with.
Yeah.
But then
she mentions my name, and he's like, what? And one of the other guys sitting next to him at this briefing is just like, yeah, the famous fucking astronaut.
Yeah, and then...
He doesn't say fucking, it's a television show, but...
And then he's like, oh yeah, well, do you think you can handle this? You think you know what you're getting into? Have you ever...
Do you know what it's like to go through the Stargate? Well, actually, no. He's not the one that asked this question. It's O'Neill who asked the question, because he's told hopes that a scientist is going.
Well, O'Neill just asks, do you know what it's like to go through a Stargate?
Yeah. And then Kowalski mentions, like, pulling out of 8 Gs and an F something or other.
Yeah, but he doesn't just say, like...
He says it
like,
very condescendingly.
He's like, have you ever pulled out of a bombing run at 8 Gs?
Outside of a test?
And she's like,
yeah,
I have. He's like, oh, well, it's worse than that.
Which, to be fair, it does seem worse than that.
I mean, if it was actually worse than that, they would wear goggles.
I mean, they have them. So they end up going through the gate, and they do appear in Abydos. And the room that they appear in is inside of a, like, temple structure.
I'm going to actually clarify why I mentioned the goggles thing, because you and I have talked about it quite a bit. So when you go through a Stargate, when you appear on the other side, you're covered in a thin layer of frost.
I was about to get there with that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
And they don't mention it in either the movie or the show so far. But if you're going to be showing up somewhere covered in frost, the most susceptible part of your body that's susceptible to frost damage is your eyes.
Yeah.
They have these big goggles on their helmet, but
none of them use them.
But they don't wear them. I mean, I assume, like, if you've done 1 or 2 Stargate jumps at this point, you know to close your eyes when you jump.
Yeah.
But, like, the first time going through, there's no way you know that your eyes should be shut. And also, she doesn't, like, brace herself and walk through. She's pushed through the Stargate because...
she's just amazed by the event horizon of the wormhole.
And O'Neill's a dick.
Yeah.
So
the room they're in, though, seems to have evidence of people having been there fairly recently. There appears to be some cook fires and stuff that they're doing there until they all pop up with guns.
And there's a bit of a moment where it seems like the Abydos people and the military are going to fire on each other. And then Daniel Jackson comes around a corner and is like, hold on, guns down, don't shoot.
It's all good. Chill the fuck out. And he welcomes O'Neill back, and he basically was like, how's it going? And he's like,
what brings you around? I know you just weren't in my neck of the woods, so...
Yeah. And then Skara pops up to, like, hug O'Neill, and they all kind of...
Well, they have dinner together because they can't go anywhere right now. There's a sandstorm going on.
The situation is explained to Daniel, though.
Daniel has the situation explained to him about the attack on the Stargate command post.
And he's like, it didn't come from here.
And Daniel says, I did find something that might be of interest to you. We can't go see it right now because there's a sandstorm, so let's eat dinner, and then we'll go. So they eat dinner, have a good time.
And during the dinner, Daniel says, I assume your attackers came from a different Stargate. And Captain Dr. Carter is just like, man, that's impossible. The Stargates don't go anywhere else. They only go to Abydos. And he's like, no, you're wrong about that. And she's like, no, I'm not. I've been there. We tried all the permutations.
Can we talk about this? I know we talked about this a little bit. So let's get to the actual mention of drift.
So he's like, I'll show you something.
So they eat dinner, sandstorm subsides, so Captain Dr. Carter,
O'Neill, and Jackson,
and I'm forgetting his name.
I think Kowalski goes with them.
Yeah, Kowalski. All go with Daniel to this other ruins. He's telling them, like, how after he deciphered the ruins in the city next to this Stargate,
he looked for more stuff. They managed to find this place, and it seems to have a bunch of different coordinate permutations kind of spelled out.
Essentially, it's just a rectangular hallway of statues, and each statue has a Stargate sequence written next to it. And him and the Doctor get into a discussion about how over time, because of the ever-expanding universe theory, which isn't really a theory anymore, but maybe in 1997 it was.
Well, 1996 for these characters.
Yeah.
Except maybe 95, because assumingly the movie is actually set in 94. Like, most movies are usually set a year before they come out.
So they talk about how drift over thousands of years
is definitely probably what caused them to no longer match up.
And, like, the further apart they are, the more drift would affect the coordinates. But here's the problem with that. It's not true. So the way Stargate coordinates work, according to the movie, is there are 6 coordinates, which make up 6 dots on a 3-dimensional field.
2 on an X, 2 on a Y, 2 on a Z.
And together, that lets you coordinate a specific pinpoint.
And then you have a 7th coordinate, which is just the point of origin.
The planet you're on.
Yes.
And together, those 7 symbols will send you to the Stargate that you're going after. So, unless your 6 points cross the center of the universe, the drift is never going to manipulate those 6 points in such a manner that they're not going to still point to the same cross-section, the same cross point.
Your biggest worry is that the place you're using no longer looks the same because of aberrations caused by the drift, which is possible. You can lose constellations that way. But
black holes.
Yeah, but the points should be the same because it doesn't matter. Those are just a reference, but the point, assumedly, is still that point mathematically.
The best way to visualize this is to, not a circular balloon, because that doesn't really, get the picture across, but, a long balloon, like what you use for making...
balloon animals.
Take that balloon, and before filling it up, put 6 dots on it, and roughly, visualize where the center of those 6 dots are, where those 6 dots would intersect. Then blow that balloon up, And those 6 dots still intersect on the same point. Because even though the balloon has gotten bigger, those lines still intersect at the same point. Just because a line stretches doesn't change with the intersection points.
Yeah.
Which means...
Because the length of those lines isn't what matters, it's just the fact that they make a line.
Which, I bring this up because the Doctor, Captain Carter, specifically says that even though they've tried pretty much all the possible combinations on the Earth Stargate, they may not be working anymore because
drift has moved them too far out of place.
Too far out of place across the 50,000 years since the Stargate was last used. Which 50,000 years is not long enough on an astronomical scale to actually do shit.
Yep.
And B, and this is the really important part, the drift wouldn't fucking affect it. Like, The Expanse is the best sci-fi show.
Yeah, agreed. But they conclude that's what it is. So they get pictures of it, and they plan on going back to Earth. That way they can use computational models to account to the 50,000 year drift, because their assumption is that any advanced species capable of making the Stargates can account for the drift, which is why these other aliens are able to come through despite drift.
I want you to know that I apologize for going on that rant.
Yep.
To you and any Stargate fans who are like, it's just the conceit of the show, you have to accept.
Oh no, it pisses me off too, man.
But like...
It's so dumb. Just come up with another reason. It's not hard.
It sounds smart enough that if you're not listening, you're like, oh yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, or if you don't know a single fucking thing about space.
Stellar drift, yeah, that makes sense. Except as soon as you like apply mathematics to what they're saying, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I'm not even that good at math. I'm like layman good at math.
And like the only way it would objectively work is with some weird different sides of the universe stuff and their points of expansion. But so according to the movie, these places are on the different sides of the universe, but on the wiki, because drift was driving me crazy. I wanted to see if they explained it better. Like if they found a more actual basis thing. They're like, drift was just our assumption. Here's the actual reason. Well, and they don't. It's always drift. In fact, they go so hard on drift, it's way too much. But there are different types of Stargates in the Stargate universe, apparently. And the one on Earth is a 7 chevron Stargate.
Which means you need the 6 coordinates and your home coordinate. 7 symbols, 7 chevrons.
And from what I was seeing on Wiki, 7 chevron gates can only be used to go to planets in the same galaxy, which contradicts the movie.
Because in the movie...
And also, definitely doesn't fucking account for drift.
Because in the movie, it specifically calls in that Abydos is on the opposite side of the universe from Earth. So Earth, halfway to Abydos, is the center of the universe, Abydos.
Yeah.
Which means they're not in the same galaxy. Because the Milky Way galaxy, I don't know if you're aware of this, anybody listening to the show, the Milky Way galaxy does not stretch through the center of the universe. If it did, we would understand a whole lot more about the universe.
Yeah. The only way stellar drift is going to fuck with the coordinate system is basically if 3 of your points are sitting like so close to the middle of the universe that things get wonky and they flatten your 2 lines basically down into 1, which is technically possible because the universe is roughly ovoid from our understanding. So with the way its expansion works, you could get some wonky shit going on there.
But also importantly, if 7 chevron stargates can only connect planets in the same galaxy, the idea of stellar drift is even more bullshit.
Yeah, it is. But anyways, back at the Stargate, that doesn't make sense.
You know, I'm realizing that I like my sci-fi shows one of 2 ways.
Yeah, no, it's the way all sci-fi and honestly magic should work. Either have a very good system, so hard science, or a hard magic system that you've explained very well and you've structured.
Like The Expanse.
Or soft magic, soft science.
Like
Star
Wars.
Yeah.
Like, those are the ways I like my sci-fi.
Like Star Wars, or I guess Harry Potter uses soft magic. It's
like,
bad.
I want my science so rigid that, like, I can't question, maybe like an astrophysicist might be able to, like, point out flaws, but I, the layperson, could not understand, like, the differences in the way it works. Or I want it so soft that I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
There is no actual explanation here. You've made shit up and say it works.
Oh,
so that's fine.
Time's measured in parsecs now. Yeah, okay.
Sure.
Hyperspace.
Midichlorians. Yeah. Okay, whatever. I don't know what those are, but sure, they exist in your world.
Yeah. Stargate's really, like, hammering home where I like my sci-fi.
Or, everything has its own cognitive representation and represents itself in a metaphysical world shadowing ours, and that can affect the actual realm. Cool. Explain it in hard detail, you're good. Or, I don't know, you just see some words and do stuff, Accessio Moon. One of the 2. But back at the Stargate, that doesn't make sense. Apophis and his men come through. They slaughter a bunch of the people here, including some of the soldiers, and then they take Shara and Skara with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Shara being Daniel's wife.
Yep.
Skara being the only returning actor from the movie. And also, he was kind of like the leader of like the youth rebellion that helped these soldiers fight off
the street urchin gang.
Yeah.
Even though I think he's technically Shari's brother, because I think in the movies he calls Eric Vasa his father during the conversation.
Eric Vasa calls him son in the movie.
But who knows if it's paternal or just paternalistic.
I will say this. The wiki doesn't seem to clarify whether they're related.
Nice.
Because Eric Voss's character refers to him as son, but it's never like canonized as if like it's, I'm leader of the village or
I'm
town.
Just a father figure to a street urchin.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're actually related. I don't know if anybody knows that they're actually related.
But in this fight, Ferretti, the other guy that came through in the original Stargate movie, gets shot, and Apophis and his men take those two and leave, but they use the giant dial, which is how you operate a Stargate, unless your dial is destroyed by intrusion, so you're using computers, aka Earth.
Or unless you attack the Earth Stargate command and the Stargate
I was
closes
getting there.
Yeah.
You don't get to steal the thing I'm pissed off about. You get to talk about Stargate Drift. I get to talk about the continuity error.
Okay, fine. Go ahead. Sorry.
So Apophis has his men use the dial to put in their locations, and Ferretti looks at it before he passes out. Kind of important coming forward. But then because they've put in their coordinates, they can go back. When they first appeared on Earth, they came through. The Stargate shuts off. There's no more power keeping it going from its original source point. So it's done. They fight the people, and then the Stargate activates again, and they go back through. They activate it again, from a shot, like it starts right again after a shot of one of Apophis's men walking back up the ramp. We never see him walk down it, but he walks up the ramp. Implying that he's turned the gate on somehow, but the computers that control the gate are in the viewing room.
I never got the implication that he turned the gate back on. I got the implication that he was like further out in the fight and then he was coming back to Apophis to like...
Yeah, maybe, but it has
take up
either
a defense
implication.
Position.
It has either implication, but he's walking back slowly, no one's stopping him.
So, I want to let you know, I understand the plot hole you're getting at here, where there's no way they could have turned that Stargate back on.
And the only explanation is, they had someone do it at home or their base. But why is that not your standard operation when you go to Abydos then as well? The Abydos attack takes longer time in the film sequencing and assumingly in the actual real time.
So I actually have
in the military base.
I have a potential in-canon answer for you
Yep.
that I found by reading Reddit on accident.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Later in the Stargate series, soldiers on the Earth units, the SG groups, have a device that they could use to reactivate the Stargate they come through just by clicking a button, and it reactivates that to send them home.
Okay.
If humans can make this device, assumedly the advanced technology alien races can also make a similar device.
Except also from what I saw on Wiki, this advanced alien race is not one of the people who made the Stargates, and they're not actually that advanced. They are part of one of many cultures that just have grown their religion and culture around it and just use them.
Yeah, still, they could have made a boopy button. We just never see it. It doesn't make sense.
But then why do they need to use it on Abydos?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense why they would use the actual...
Yeah, no, it just makes no sense.
Unless the boopy buttons are one-time uses, so they save it instead of... That's bad writing.
Why would they need to do it on Earth? Because they don't even check to see...
Oh, no,
they turn the gate on before the other soldiers even show up. They just massacred people, and then they turn it back on.
No, I'm 100% agreeing with you. And also, we've found out, because of Justice's reading of the wiki, that, and I'm sure some of you were thinking of this too, why don't you just have somebody at home open the Stargate so you can come back through? Mm-hmm. And there's a reason why you can't do that.
Which, by the way, then makes it impossible for someone else to have opened it.
Mm-hmm. Justice, do you want to explain why you can't
Stargate wormholes are one way only. Apparently, if you try to go back through one that is how you got here, you just dematerialize like you do normally, but you don't reform.
And what happens if you go through the back of a Stargate?
Unclear, according to the one character who answers someone's question about it. The person died in the most horrific imaginable way he's ever seen.
Okay, so what you're saying is Stargates are mainly just murder devices if you don't use the right.
Also, apparently that big wave that first pops out also just destroys anything in front of it. Dematerializes anything. Don't get caught by that wave.
So does that mean the titanium plate they put over the Stargate would do nothing?
No, because apparently if it's within enough microns to where it starts, it just stops it from propagating.
Jesus. Okay, so Daniel, Jack...
I wanted to mention something else.
Okay, go ahead.
So I forgot to do it in the very beginning. Also, one of Apophis's men is played by Christopher Judge, who, if you recognize the name, you're not going to recognize him from Stargate, most likely. Instead, you'd probably recognize him as the current voice actor for Kratos.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They gave the white man a black voice actor. I can't believe that God of War is so woke.
Yep.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah.
This is just the internet talk that happened when Chris Judge was cast as Kratos.
What I can't believe is they fucking cut off his speech. Fucking ridiculous. Give more time to announcing the possibility of a game than to a guy who you just gave an award for his great performances.
Oh yeah, the Game Awards?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was bullshit. Anyways, though.
So
Kowalski, Daniel, Carter,
Jackson and Ferretti.
Jackson.
O'Neill, sorry.
O'Neill get back to the temple with the Stargate, see that the attack happened, and quickly decide that they need to get back to Earth.
And Daniel has to come with them this time because that is O'Neill's job.
And Daniel decides that the people of Abydos need to cave in this cave to cover the Stargate and keep it sealed for a year, unseal it in a year, leave it unsealed for like a day, and then reseal it if they don't come back.
Yes, to which I'd like to point out, after this command, Jackson now has to keep a running count of how time works on Abydos to Earth and every other planet he goes to. So he needs a minute countdown, basically.
He only needs it for Earth, right? Because even if he goes to a different planet, when he comes back to Earth,
yes,
he could just check the time.
But he needs to do that conversion on Earth because apparently, in one bit of throwaway dialogue, when O'Neill asks what they've been doing, Daniel establishes that he has had guards on this 36 hours every day.
Yeah, which
implies Abydos has a day of 36 hours, and we don't know how long their calendar year is.
So
that's just a fun thing that my brain went, hey, we actually did a tiny thing. It's not just a full 24-hour day. Yay.
So the entire crew go back to Earth. You said his name, but I forgot it.
Ferretti, the injured one.
Yeah. So they come back through. Ferretti is triaged immediately, and the general says that they're going to have a meeting.
Briefing, yeah.
And so the briefing is essentially that
the president wants to do Stargate stuff again, and he's making 9 teams.
And the first 2 teams are going to be led by Jack O'Neill.
For SG-1.
SG-2 will be led by
Kowalski.
Thank you. I'm terrible with names. Kowalski at Jack O'Neill's recommendation.
Yeah, O'Neill's just like, I had a moment of weakness. Whatever. We then go to wherever Apophos took his prisoners. Because we see Shara and Skara. Well, actually, we see the outside of what looks like a poorly represented medieval castle.
Yes, it's a medieval castle.
And then we see Skara and Shara thrown in a room with a bunch of other people in different clothing, so assumably from different planets. And then these giant metal, it looks like a portcullis, but it's inside and it's slidey doors closed.
Yeah, and then Shara is later moved to a room that is just filled with beautiful women in scantily clad clothing, and the woman military officer from the beginning of the episode that was captured by Apophis is also there.
Yes.
Taluk, which is the name of
Christopher Judge's character,
comes in and looks at the women and chooses the military officer from the beginning of the episode and says that she is the one, and then takes her away.
She might be the one.
And
then she's taken to Apophis, who has his men strip her, and then she's freaking out. He holds up this weird gem that he used to both, it's like mentally stunning people, it seems. He did it when he first took her, he did it to Shara, and he did it to Skara when he took them.
Yeah.
So he does it when she's putting up a fight and complaining, which, by the way, when they drag her away to go to this thing, she's yelling.
It's just Axie?
Yeah, basically. As they drag her away to go to this meeting with Apophis, she's yelling about being a U.S. Air Force lieutenant.
Yeah.
And she's like, you do not realize what has happened. I get you are freaked out and hanging on, and this is like the one thing you have going for you that you can think about at the moment, but this means nothing to the alien people that have kidnapped you.
Yeah.
It means nothing to the people in the weird medieval knight/Egyptian-inspired armor, okay? But so he uses Axie on her, and then has his men strip her, and he evaluates her like a horse, basically. Like, that's the best way I can think of it. Like, when someone buys a horse, they check its teeth and look it over, make sure it's healthy. And then he turns to someone, and his queen comes down to choose a host.
The host, a woman carrying the queen, comes down.
Yes.
Because the queen is a worm-like thing that is in the stomach of this woman, and it sticks its worm-like body out, checks out the Air Force lieutenant, and then decides, nah, not for me. And so I guess they kill her?
Yeah, he basically tells his guards to kill her, which that's the thing we should have mentioned earlier, because we mentioned it, but then forgot to follow up on it. So those guards that got killed at the very beginning, the military looked at, and it's part of him getting O'Neill to do stuff. He shows the body, and there's a giant, like, X cut in them.
Right in their stomach.
And the doctor's like, they're not human. Definitely not human. They're alien of some sort.
And they got a pouch.
Like a marsupial. We don't know what it's for. And then that's where Hammond explained he saw the eyes glow. So we now know that pouch is used to hold alien worm things.
And Tilk is in this room the entire time, and he looks incredibly uncomfortable while they kill the woman. And
he was uncomfortable about all of it.
The alien commander, Apophos, then once again calls for Talk to bring him another woman. We then, not in the movie, but in the TV show version, cut back to Stargate Command, where O'Neill walks into the medical wing and he talks to
Kowalski, who is sitting by Freddy's bedside.
Yeah, he's sitting by Freddy's bedside, and he's like, you guys stay here all night? And Kowalski goes, yep. And he goes, all right. And then he turns around and walks out.
And then Daniel walks up and he's like...
And it's also important that in this conversation they mention that the doctors say that Freddy's going to be okay.
Yeah. So they're waiting to see if he wakes up and if he solve the symbols that Apophis' men put into the Stargate so they can figure out where he went.
So then O'Neill walks down a hallway and runs into Daniels. And this scene, for some reason, is cut from the, movie version cut of this show. And O'Neill walks up to Daniels, and Daniels like, they don't know what to do with me, do they? And O'Neill goes, it's okay, you can come with me, man. And they walk off together.
Yeah.
And then we would cut back to...
The important, for me, I'm actually upset they cut this from the movie version. I get that it's just meant that it was time filler to pad out so the episode would
to stretch the runtime, yeah.
But this scene is the actor who plays Daniel's best acting. He's
Michael Shanks.
Michael Shanks is best acting in this hour and a half movie.
Yeah.
These first 2 episodes, because he seems so lost now that he's back on Earth. His wife is gone. And he's thrust into, this military action. He is lost, but he's also recognizing that the people around him, he's disconnected from society now because they don't know what to do with him either. It's very good.
Yeah.
It's a very, even though it's only, 3 lines of dialogue, chef's kiss. Sometimes less dialogue, but it's not in the movie. It's not in the movie version. In the movie version, we come back to Earth. No, we get that Freddy's gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
We come back to Apophis,
where Chilk is now fetching another woman for the people, and he ends up grabbing Shara to take to them.
Yeah, this time the queen larva thing inside the host woman
appears with Shara, so it commandeers her body.
And it crawls up and goes in her ear. Very Yerk-like if you have an Animorphs reference in your mindset.
Also, now that I say, I don't know if the Luna guy is Freddy. We see Freddy just go to the planet, I think, right? No, that's Kowalski. So
Freddy doesn't go to the next planet.
Yeah. It's Kowalski that things happen to.
Yeah.
So we then go back to Earth where Kowalski is woken up, and he does indeed remember the 7 symbols that were used on the Stargate. That's the important thing there.
Yep. So SG-1 and SG-2 are going to do I don't remember what it's called when 2 teams work together in the military, a co-joint.
I don't fucking know. They're working together.
A joint military effort. That's what the term is. The 2 go together to this new planet to chase down Apophis, potentially rescue the lieutenant if they can, rescue Shari, rescue Skara, and deal with this threat.
Yes. So SG-1 will be doing the rescue part of the operation, and SG-2 will be guarding the retreat to the Stargate. So they go through, they end up on this weird planet, and...
while SG-1 is doing, exploratory surveillance, they encounter a group of what seem to be monks.
Honestly, they look like a bad representation of druids.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, Captain, Dr. Carter, and O'Neill hide behind some trees, put their guns ready, and before either of them notice it, Jackson walks up to talk to the people.
Jackson is also a doctor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's a doctor and
linguistics studies, I assume.
Yeah, that's what it was, linguistics.
So he walks up to them and starts talking to them, and O'Neill's just he hasn't fucking changed. Because this is basically what he did the moment he saw people in the Stargate.
O'Neill, tells them all to, hide, and then Daniels goes, whoop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop.
And they start talking quickly. Daniel realizes, they're speaking some hybrid of Arabic and some other language, and Ruffley gets them to lead them to a city. And when O'Neill asks him what he's fucking doing, he's like, I don't know, I think it's a better idea with our first interaction on the alien planet to not start shooting people.
Yeah, so they're brought to a feast where they are treated like gods.
They're brought to a very Greek-like city.
Yeah, and then a feast where they are treated like gods. And before the meal is actually served, everybody bows their heads, and so Daniel bows his head and then gets the other 2 to bow that.
Yeah.
And in walk Apophis and Share. Share is now the queen, who's probably got a different name than Share.
Yeah, and Apophis' henchman.
And Daniel doesn't freak out, but he's like, Share, and gets up to run at her.
So the guards obviously fucking snatch him.
Yeah, so this ends up with Daniel, Carter, and O'Neill all thrown into prison. No, he's not with them here because he's leading SG-2 back.
Yes.
I was just wondering if Kowalski was with them, but no, he's setting up defensive perimeters around SG-2. Mainly, he's setting up claymores.
Yeah. So, actually, they don't snatch him. Apophis just, uses his weird hand device that he also uses to axe people to ard Daniel into a wall.
So, I'm going to go ahead and clarify these terminologies. If you've not played The Witcher, or read the Witcher novels.
Or listen to our Witcher review where we also talk about Quinn and Axie and Ard and Igni.
Witchers get access to a very limited form of magic called signs. One of the signs is called Axie. It lets you calm people's minds. Mm-hmm. Another symbol is called Ard. It lets you force push, like in Star Wars, an arc of people away from you or a single individual away from you. So when we say that they use the glove talisman thing to Axie somebody, we're saying they put them in a calm state that makes them suggestible and easily maneuverable. When we say they Ard, we just mean they force shove somebody.
Yes. So then Captain Dr. Carter and O'Neill aim their guns towards them, and Shari steps in the way. Whether this is a representation of the fact that Shari has somewhat of her human memories because O'Neill won't shoot her or not is unclear.
I think this implies the Queen has access to Shari's memories.
Yeah, that's my assumption.
Because the Queen's like, oh, they'll shoot Apophis, but they won't shoot me.
They won't shoot this meat sack. So then they all get captured and are thrown into the prison cell with all the other people.
And once in the prison cell, they meet Skara again. Yeah. Yay, Skara's back.
And then they're trying to figure out who the fuck Apophis is. And Daniel thinks he's figured it out.
Because we've been calling him Apophis this entire time, but they didn't know who he was. And Daniel's like, oh, he's the enemy of Ra, Apophis. Apophis was the night, Ra was the day, which is oversimplifying ancient Egyptian mythology.
Yeah.
But
so he's pretty sure they're maybe the same species or at least similar. And that's kind of the idea there. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Daniel's actually trying to figure that out because he's talking with Captain Dr. Carter. I'm sorry, I fucked that up. At this time, O'Neill is off just searching the walls with Skara, trying to find a way out.
Yeah. So Talek comes into the pen with all the prisoners, and he sees O'Neill's watch, and he's like, that is not gold technology. What is this? And O'Neill tries to explain that he's from Earth, and
Telk's just like, I have no idea what the fuck that is. Then he's just like, that place you guys recently attacked, that lady?
Daniel draws the symbol for Earth and ground, though, because all planets have their own symbol, which is the 7th symbol to
it's the
out.
Origin point that you use. Yeah. And then Telk just like wipes it away with his foot and leaves the room.
Yeah. Later, Apophis and Shari show back up to the pen because they're selecting for
the children of the gods. So it's them and a bunch of other people. It's the guards and then other people who are assumedly carrying the children of the gods' parasites.
And so they begin sorting through prisoners looking for proper hosts for the children. Yep. One of the hosts they end up selecting is Skara.
I mean, so again, Daniel is like trying to get Shari's attention. And then Daniel he asks what the hosts remember, if they remember anything, if it hurts, whatever.
And he tries to do the whole, I volunteer.
Yeah. And so the people choosing one of the children point, and from the direction we have on the screen, they were supposed to think they're pointing at Daniel, but they're actually pointing at Skara right behind him. So they take Skara.
And then because they're taking Skara, O'Neill and Captain Dr. Carter start what is essentially a prison riot. They start fighting back.
Yeah, it does not turn out well for them.
No, they're outnumbered and outgunned because they don't have guns. But Talk is like...
So after the tributes are chosen, Apophis commands the guards to kill everyone else. To which O'Neill steps forward to talk to Tilk, and he's just like, you can stop this. You can save these people. You don't have to do this. And Tilk's just like, a lot of people have said that.
Specifically, O'Neill also says, I can help you save these people. And Tilk goes, I've heard that before.
But for some reason, I trust you. And turns and just shoots the other guards.
But yeah, this is the first time I believe it.
Yeah.
And like, gets a badass moment. Tilk goes fucking hard on the other Apophis guards. And then they blast their way out through the rock wall because earlier O'Neill found a weak point. And then they're all escaping, all the prisoners, and O'Neill, Daniel, and Captain Dr. Carter.
Or like, where would they take Skara? And Tilk's just like, to the Stargate, back to their world, because this isn't their world.
And then Tilk is just standing at the exit of the prison and goes, I have nowhere to go. You go, save your friends. And O'Neill's like, no, you can come with us. You saved me. My home is your home. Yeah. Come on.
Also, importantly, they have 24 hours to get all this done.
Oh, yeah.
On their commands from Hammond. And they are now very close to running out of that time.
Because if they don't, Hammond has now added a titanium plate that slides over the Stargate so nothing can come through unless they want it to come through.
And they're never opening it again, is the idea.
Yeah.
And O'Neill gave the orders to Kowalski to leave them if things happen, but of course, Kowalski said he wasn't going to do that to his own men. So then, as they're all walking towards the Stargate with their refugees, Telk takes the time to explain what the fuck is going on.
Specifically, he explains that his species is called the Jaffa.
Yes.
And that the Jaffa act as host for the Golud, and that's why they have the little kangaroo sack, and Talk himself has an alien in it, and they're like, you should kill that thing, and Talk's like...
I'm actually unclear unclear if Jaffa is what his species is, or if Jaffa is a position that he has, because he says he's a soldier born to serve, but he also says he volunteered to do this.
That's fair. Jaffa
So, like, if the womb thing, if, like, the marsupial womb thing, whatever they're doing is...
Jaffa may be a cast.
Yeah, it may be, like, surgically inserted, who knows? But that he chose to do this because it put his family in a better situation, basically.
Yeah, but also, all of the humans, like the SG team, object to the idea of him carrying around this immature gold in his stomach.
And he's like, it makes me a lot stronger.
And functionally immortal.
And if I take it out, I die.
And he doesn't say he'll die. He's like, if I take it out,
I would die eventually.
I will die eventually.
Yeah.
Which is like how most people live their lives, but Telk's like, no, you don't understand. As long as this gold is in me, I won't die from aging. I'm functionally immortal. It's mine. Yeah. You can't take my alien warm away.
So then we see SG-2 notice Apophis and Shara and all of them, and they don't stop it because they don't entirely know what's going on. But they're setting up, preparing, and then an alien aircraft appears to just start shooting at O'Neill.
Oh, yeah, they start shooting at SG-1 team.
Yeah.
And so SG-1 team is under heavy fire from an aircraft.
And the people are running, and then they realize that there's more, assumedly Jaffa, following after them.
Yeah, so SG-2 eventually gets set up, and with some of a rocket launcher, takes out the aircraft, freeing SG-1 from being pinned under aircraft fire.
Yep.
But it doesn't allow enough time for SG-1 to get to the Stargate before
Apophis and Shara step through.
Exactly. But they get to the hill above the Stargate just in time to see Skara and his consorts or his sisters.
I assumed they were supposed to be like his parents because they're the ones that chose him.
Well,
so I assumed they were choosing their own children.
I think that either all three of them are children.
I don't know.
Because I imagine they're the children of Apophis and the Queen.
I assumed there might be more gods. I don't know. It's unclear. But O'Neill sees him, calls out to him, and Skara turns around and walks towards him.
And he has like he smiles this like, it's a conniving type of smile. Like, well, it's
at first it's almost a vacant smile. And then he holds up his hand, which also has the weird gem thing on it, and odds O'Neill, and then the smile turns into like a conniving smile. And then he turns and walks through the Stargate.
Yeah, him, the two women, and the two Apophis soldiers. At this point, they recognize that they need to escape.
So all the refugees are running. They're still being chased by the people from the fort thing, and the Stargate stops, so they need to put in their coordinates to get back to Earth. So
before they can put their coordinates in, they have to send a message back to let them know to open the still shutter.
So Jackson and Captain Dr. Carter are working on that, while SG-1 and SG-2 are holding off the incoming attackers. They use the claymores they planted earlier.
Yeah, SG-2 is supposed to be the ones that leave last.
Yeah, but
O'Neill's like, no, I'll be the one to hold down the...
Yeah.
Anyways, everybody makes it through. Still shutter shuts. None of the enemies make it through after them. I don't think there's anything else important in that scene. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, there's one thing.
One of the military guys gets injured. Kowalski and O'Neill grab him to help him through. There's a dead Apophis person nearby. And as Kowalski goes to pick up the wounded soldier along with O'Neill to pull him through the gate, we see a worm parasite thing dive into his neck. And then they go through the gate.
Well, it dives onto his shoulder, crawls up his neck, and goes in his ear.
Oh, okay.
They always go in through the ear.
Yeah.
It's very Yerk.
And then they go through the gate.
So they arrive back on Earth, and Hammond is initially very surprised. He's like, this is Stargate Command.
He's like, whatever, help these people. And then he sees Tilk, and the soldiers are pointing guns at him, and then Tilk just hands over his staff.
Yeah, like, it should be... I know you mentioned it earlier, but again, Telk was part of the original Apophis crew that came in and kidnapped the lieutenant.
And we saw his face. His mask came down during it.
And, yeah, him and Apophis both dropped their masks. So Hammond recognizes him, and O'Neill's like, I vouched for him. Without him, we wouldn't have made it back. I want him on SG-1.
And Hammond's just like, that's not your decision. But so then basically we're wrapping up the episode. O'Neill and Daniel are talking. They're like, yeah, we're definitely going to keep searching for Shara and Skara. We'll figure out what else is going on.
And that's pretty much the end.
Until we pan over to Kowalski as he's walking down the ramp and his eyes glow.
Yeah, because he's now got a gold in him.
Yeah.
And that's Stargate SG-1, Episode 1 and 2, Children of the Guards, Part 1 and 2.
And if you notice, we didn't stop at that point where we mentioned the new episode started to ask the other one if we would continue watching, because it was both combined. We did treat it kind of as a movie. There was no option to stop. Literally into our second rewatch, the one where we take notes and refresh ourselves on it. We didn't know where that split was. Josh looked it up out of curiosity. How we found out about the other scene.
The only way I was able to find it was on Dailymotion as well.
Yeah.
Dailymotion had the individual episodes, but anywhere else you stream it, or if you buy it on Blu-ray DVD, it's now always shown as 1 hour and a half long movie.
Yeah.
If you Google Stargate SG-1 Children of the Gods, Google tells you it's a movie now.
Yeah. And if you watch it on Amazon, it does list this as episode 1, the next one has episode 2. But if you're ever looking up an episode list, they'll be different. So there was a bit of like, do we watch the next episode? But also that's 2.5 fucking hours. So we decided no.
Also, I think it'd be disingenuous to watch the third episode.
Yeah,
because these were the first 2 episodes when the show aired.
Yeah.
And like in that regard, also, if you want to count Stargate the movie as the first episode and this is the second episode, that would be another way to interpret it. And we have watched Stargate. We have that basis of knowledge going into SG-1. I would say that basis of knowledge actually makes SG-1 worse because it creates contradictions.
But it is necessary to kind of still understand what's going on for parts of it. Like, not super necessary. You could just go into it blind, but like parts of it would be really weird then.
Anyways, Justice, after watching these 2 episodes of Stargate SG-1, would you watch more Stargate SG-1?
I would. It's just can't be enough sci-fi as long as they don't talk about stellar drift, but Wikipedia tells me they do. But I want to see what dumb shit they combine with the Egyptian gods in weird ways for a while, because I assume that's all we're getting in season 1.
I want Nefertiti.
That's who I assumed Apophis' wife was supposed to be initially.
Oh,
with like the way they set her up through the veils and then like some of her clothing.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't think I would watch anymore. It's funny because out of the 2 of us, I was the one that was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start watching Stargate.
I mean, you could watch Stargate Atlantis instead, which I've always heard better things about. And that one does have Jason Momoa in it.
Yeah, but it's a spin-off of Stargate SG-1. It starts at the end of season 8. Like, they're connected.
Who cares?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this show is for me. Like I said, I think Stargate SG-1 has done one very important thing for me.
Yeah.
And that is pinpoint the point how I like my science in my sci-fi.
Yeah.
Because up until this point, I've never been like, oh, I hate this. And now
I hate this because of my personal knowledge base.
And now I found a sci-fi show that makes me go, oh, I hate this.
Fair enough.
And it's not like I hate Stargate, like the story or like the acting. Like a lot of it's the in-world lore. Some of the effects are like cheesy, but not like terrible. Like
no, they're fine.
They're
cheesy, they're still fine.
When I reference a villain, like villain goons looking like Power Ranger villains, that's not a bad thing.
No,
that's like
they look good. They just look off for the world always.
It's a cheesiness that I enjoy. So like that's not a criticism. When I'm like, they look like Power Ranger villains.
No, it's literally just the stellar drift thing.
Yeah. Stellar drift. That's not just the stellar drift. It's the entire Stargate thing. Like I thought Stargates were like an interesting idea, but like the more they talk about Stargates,
honestly, I think the big issue is the fact that they just went, we don't know how to explain why they go back to Abydos. We don't know how to get Jax back into this. The answer is don't worry about it. Just have them go back to Abydos because he is so far your best actualized expert.
Yeah.
Also, he's a linguistics guy who managed to crack an ancient language that has been gone through its own thousands of years of slang, understand enough to understand their version of symbology.
Well, not only does he understand, not only did he like figure out the Stargate in a week when they'd been studying it for 2 years, he also learned the language of Abydos in the span of like a night.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, I know this. There's just some derivation because they've had thousands of years on their own.
Specifically, he says all their vowel pronunciations are different, but like the words themselves are all the same.
Yeah,
and it's still.
And he learns their permutations on their writing system because it's fairly similar to ancient Egyptian, but not exactly. Like, you just be like, we need the super skilled linguist. We went to it, like, literally just go to a different planet, like, go to Garold, realize, oh, we don't understand a fucking thing. Go get Jackson. Done. And then you can have him have Luce, Share, and Scar get kidnapped. Just, you run the, let's try to save the lieutenant first mission, fail at that because you don't understand the language or something, and then go get the guy who knows language.
Yeah. Pretty much. I think that's it for Stargate, though.
Yep.
We want to thank you for flying with us. But before we go, if you want to contact us and talk to us about your takes on hard and soft sci-fi and hard and soft magic systems and where Stargate falls in that for you, or anything else. I'm just pitching Stargate topics, but if you want to talk to us, give us your thoughts on Stargate, there's a myriad of ways to do that. First of all, you have our email, copilotsreview@gmail.com. Then you have our Twitter and our Blue Sky.
Both of which we are at Copilots Review on.
And then on the website, copilotsreview.simplecast.com.
You can find links to our YouTube, our Patreon, our Discord, as well as Twitter and our email.
And those are all valid ways to get in contact with us. Or if you want to leave us a review,
that would be great. Wherever you listen to it at, review it there. 5 stars. 5 stars. Nothing counts unless it's 5 stars. That's how the internet works. Our world's broken.
But thanks for flying with us, and we'll see you again on the next flight.
Just remember, give us 5 Stargates. So do I.
5 Chevron Stargates?